Hi, this is Christy from Back to the Bar. You've probably heard about GLP-1 weight loss medications and the side effects that can come with jumping in too fast. That's why I Love Noom makes getting started easy. Their microdose GLP-1 program begins with a smaller dose and gradually scales up based on how your body reacts. The Noom GLP-1 microdose program starts at $99 and is delivered to your door in 7 days. Start your microdose GLP-1 journey today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com. Noom, micro changes, big results. Average weight loss 8 pounds in first month. Meds and personalization based on clinical need and not available to all individuals. Medications are not reviewed by FDA for safety, efficacy, or quality. Pricing based on first month only.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
It's Saturday, the 10th of January. I'm Ciara Evans, and this was a week that saw the US launch a raid on Venezuela, the coalition of the willing sign a new deal with Ukraine, New York get a new mayor, and big winners at the Critics' Choice Awards.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
but not the news.
The first proper week of 2026 has seen a flurry of drama as last Saturday morning US troops launched a strike on Venezuela. The attack came after months of build-up of US forces in the Caribbean, and a fleet of Apache helicopters swarmed across the capital with a clear mission in mind. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores were both arrested by US Special Forces and taken to a waiting US vessel and then transported to New York to face drug and weapon charges. US President Donald Trump was delighted with the efficiency of Operation Absolute Resolve, but seemed more focused on oil than on the drug trade. That was the original rationale for the mission.
We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend. This is a very big evening that took place last night. We have to be surrounded by safe, secure countries.
Speaking at a Mar-a-Lago press conference, Trump suggested that the US would run Venezuela, and the former vice president, now acting president Delcy Rodriguez, didn't sound thrilled.
We demand the immediate liberation of the president Nicolas Maduro and of his wife Cilia Flores.
The attack on Venezuela should have had congressional approval, and the lack of clarity on what happens next alarmed US lawmakers, including Democrat Senator Bernie Sanders.
The President of the United States does not have the right to unilaterally take this country into war, even against a corrupt and brutal dictator like Maduro.
The initial reaction to America's strike on Venezuela was mixed, with European leaders wary of upsetting an ally. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer was quick to clarify that there was no UK involvement in the operation, and Chief Secretary to the PM Darren Jones was attempting to be as diplomatic as possible on Sunday.
The UK respects international law and the rules-based order. We conduct ourselves on that basis, and we expect other countries to do so. But as I say, what's happened in Venezuela has happened. We now need to try to move as quickly as possible.
The US's unilateral action against a country's leader raises questions that both China and Russia will be keen to consider in terms of Taiwan and Ukraine, respectively. Ukrainian President Zelensky was quick to offer his own suggestion to Donald Trump as to what America's next target should be.
Well, what can I say? If it's possible, yes, with dictators like this, then the United States of America knows what to do next.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro appeared in court in New York on Monday, where he and his wife Cilia Flores both pleaded not guilty to drugs, weapons and narco-terrorism charges. Maduro told the court he had been illegally captured and insisted that he remains the president of his country, although his vice president Delcy Rodriguez has now been sworn in as interim president. While their brief hearing was going on, the UN Security Council was also meeting, where a dozen countries condemned what they called a US crime of aggression, and China and Russia both demanded the president's release. Back in the UK, Migration Minister Mike Tapp was reluctant to condemn the US actions.
Maduro is a dictator who is known to
detained dissidents. He doesn't run fair trials. There's intimidation of political rivals. There's sexual violence. So we in no way are upset that this man is no longer in charge.
The US government continues to insist that the operation was a law enforcement mission based on the 2020 indictment of Maduro, and therefore there was no need to notify Congress or seek permission. Democratic Senator Tim Kaine disagreed with that assessment.
It's an illegal action because we're not supposed to be at war without a vote of Congress. The U.S. invading another nation gives a green light to other dictators around the world like Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping to do the same.
Tuesday saw Donald Trump address the Republican members at the newly renamed Trump Kennedy Center, praising the brilliant military operation while also acknowledging that many Cubans were killed, while announcing that Venezuela would turn over 50 million barrels of oil to the U.S. Meanwhile, the official opposition leader of Venezuela, Maria Corina Machado, was busy trying to get into Donald's good books by offering to share her Nobel Prize with the US president.
I certainly would love to be able to personally tell him that we believe the Venezuelan people, because this is a prize of the Venezuelan people, certainly want to give it to him and share it with him.
US Special Forces in a joint operation with the Royal Navy boarded a Venezuelan oil tanker on Wednesday, which had been on the run for the last 2 weeks. The tanker had renamed itself the Marinara and began flying a Russian flag, but the US Secretary of War described it as a stateless vessel that had been sanctioned as part of Venezuela's banned oil fleet. Trump is also intending to seize up to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan oil, which he will sell and then use the funds as he sees fit. That hasn't impressed China, who's been one of the biggest purchasers of Venezuelan oil, and Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning condemned the US actions.
The United States has brazenly resorted to the use of force against Venezuela and demanded that America First be applied when Venezuela disposes of its own oil resources. This is a typical act of bullying, a serious violation of international law, and a grave infringement on Venezuela's sovereignty that also severely undermines the rights of Venezuelan people.
It's still not clear what the US plan for Venezuela is, with the interim president Delcy Rodriguez in a difficult position. David Smolansky is the spokesperson for the opposition leader and Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado, and he says that it's time for a change of leadership.
They've got the legitimacy, the credibility. They have also a plan that we have presented to different governments across the world. We are ready to govern.
Tuesday saw what appeared to be a major breakthrough for Ukraine as the coalition of the willing formalised security guarantees and committed to establishing military hubs once a ceasefire is agreed. Key members of the coalition, including UK PM Keir Starmer, French President Macron and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, gathered along with Ukrainian President Zelensky and Donald Trump's envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Macron, Starmer and Zelensky signed what they called a trilateral statement of intent that will see French and British troops deployed to Ukraine.
This is a vital part of our ironcast commitment to stand with Ukraine for the long term. It paves the way for the legal framework under which British, French and partner forces could operate on Ukrainian soil, regenerating Ukraine's armed forces for the future.
The US had also pledged to strongly stand behind the new security protocols, but has made no commitment of troops or further support as yet. The plan will also have to be presented to Russia, who can be expected to object strongly. However, Ukrainian President Zelensky felt that real progress had been made.
And this illustrates the willingness to work for peace. And we want to be ready so that when diplomacy reaches peace, we can place the forces of the coalition of the willing.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer was in the spotlight on Wednesday after he signed the new tripartite agreement, which could see UK troops on the ground in Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire. There remain many hurdles before a ceasefire is agreed, with the Kremlin warning that any international troops in Ukraine would be treated as legitimate targets. There were plenty of questions for the PM in the Commons, including from Speaker Sir Lindsay Howell, who wanted to know why the House was not informed in advance, and Starmer said he plans to make a full statement and give details as soon as possible. He also committed to a debate and a vote for MPs on the issue. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch was more concerned about matters at home.
We will absolutely support any efforts to help bring peace to Ukraine. But we cannot write a blank cheque when he is also surrendering to his backbenchers by prioritizing welfare handouts over defense spending, as if the world has not become more dangerous.
Despite this week's progress on security guarantees for Ukraine, there's been no sign of any actual progress as Russia continues to strike nightly at targets across the country. 1 million people were left without power or heat on Thursday after a massive wave of Russian drone and missile attacks, and the barrages seemed to be intensifying as Ukraine struggles through a cold winter. President Zelensky has asked his citizens to remain resilient while he pleads for more support from Western allies. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz was warning that until a ceasefire is agreed, there's not much more the coalition can do to help.
The order must be, first a ceasefire, then security guarantees for Ukraine, for a long-term agreement with Russia. And this doesn't work without Russia's consent, and we are probably still quite a long way from that.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer has plenty of items on his to-do list for 26, including fixing Labour's position in the polls and driving growth in the economy. The PM sat down with the BBC for a chat on Sunday, outlining his key priorities for the year. And in a time of global trade wars, it's not surprising that working more closely with Europe is near the top of that list. He says that there's no question of rejoining the single market or seeing any change on freedom of movement, but that closer trade alignment does make sense. He was also keen to emphasise that he's in this for the long haul.
We know from that evidence what happens if you go down that chaotic path. I will be sitting in this seat by 2027, and if this long-form interview works, we can try it again in January of next year as well.
Kemi Badenoch also means business in 2026. The Tory party leader celebrated the start of her second year in the hot seat with a no-holds-barred interview on Good Morning Britain. She was keen to lay out her plans for the new year, which include driving a recovery in Tory polling numbers and a return of the two-child benefit cap when her party retakes Downing Street. She was also keen to scrap VAT on school fees and taxes on farmers, but she was very firm that there's no prospect of a voting pact with Nigel Farage's Reform Party.
This is not the time to be talking about any sorts of deals. What I'm interested in is getting the country working, not just getting back in for its own sake. That's one of the mistakes that we made before. Win, 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 win. What are you winning for?
Apart from signing off on the new security guarantees for Ukraine on Tuesday, Prime Minister Keir Starmer also chaired the first cabinet meeting of 2026. With Labour behind reform in the polls, ministers got a good talking to from the PM's Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, who urged them to reconnect emotionally with voters, according to The Guardian. The latest polls also have the Tories ahead of Labour, but Starmer was determined that if his government stays focused on driving down the cost of living, that Labour supporters will return to the party.
Yes, there's a world of uncertainty and upheaval, but tackling the cost of living remains and must remain our focus.
Thursday saw the Labour government heading towards another U-turn on November's budget. They've already stepped back on inheritance tax on farms, along with previous U-turns on the two-child benefit cap and winter fuel payments. And now it seems that the proposed business rate rises for pubs are also to be diluted. The change is due to be announced in the coming days and comes after more intensive lobbying from Labour MPs and the hospitality industry. This week has also seen fresh attacks from the Tories and Reform on the decision to lift the two-child benefit cap, but the Chancellor said that this is consistent with Labour's pledge to lift children out of poverty.
The majority of people who will benefit from that are from working families, and that is one of the myths, that these are families where no one's going out to work. No, many of these families, people are working incredibly hard, but because of the cost of living, are still struggling to make ends meet.
Nigel Farage suggested this week that the change will benefit huge numbers of foreign-born people, and so his party would vote against the proposed change, while Tory Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride said the government's approach to benefits is wrong.
And we don't think it's right that if you happen to be on benefits, you can have a family of whatever size you want and not have to worry about how you're going to pay for that because it's going to be covered by the benefits bill.
Donald Trump's new obsession with the Western Hemisphere and what he calls the Don Road Doctrine seems to be set to spell trouble for countries within America's orbit. This week has seen US Secretary of State Marco Rubio making threats about Cuba, while Trump has his eye on Colombia and remains obsessed with Greenland. The prospect of American forces seizing a territory of a fellow NATO member alarmed European governments, and Denmark's Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, was increasingly explicit in her warnings to America. Monday also saw UK PM Keir Starmer attempting to draw a line in the sand for Trump.
Denmark is a close European ally, and the future therefore has to be for Greenland, for the Kingdom of Denmark, and only for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark, and we're absolutely clear about that.
Former MI6 chief Sir Alex Younger said there's a definite shift in the American approach to its allies.
What I find frustrating, of course, is that Denmark, of course, is a member of NATO and has made it entirely clear that it's ready to cooperate with the US in any way to achieve that, as long as that's under a Danish flag, and that seems completely reasonable to me.
Tuesday saw Deputy Chief of Staff to Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, on Fox News, making clear that his boss has not given up on the desire to have control of the Danish territory.
It has been the formal position of the U.S. government since the beginning of this administration, frankly, going back into the previous Trump administration, that Greenland should be part of the United States. The president has been very clear about that. That is the formal position of the U.S. government.
The White House also issued a formal statement later on Tuesday, which said that the U.S. military is always an option to the Commander-in-Chief's disposal. Wednesday did at least see Trump and spokesperson Caroline Leavitt float the notion that America might buy the territory from Denmark. It's not clear how that would work, and it's clear that military force is not off the table either. At Prime Minister's Question Time, Lib Dem leader Ed Davey was looking for clarity from Prime Minister Keir Starmer on what the government and NATO's position is on the matter.
He keeps encouraging me to sort of tug away at parts of NATO and to choose between Europe and the US. That would be a strategic mistake for our country.
Former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton says that the plot to capture Greenland is designed to disrupt NATO as much as improving US security.
I think for many in the Trump administration, taking Greenland and breaking up NATO would be what we call a twofer, two for the price of one.
In a chaotic week in America, Wednesday also saw a shocking video go viral of an incident involving ICE agents in Minneapolis. The Department of Homeland Security said a 37-year-old woman weaponized her vehicle, while Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem described the incident as domestic terrorism. The video shows an agent opening fire at point-blank range as the woman, who was an American citizen, attempts to turn her car, and she later died at the scene. Reaction in Minneapolis was one of shock and outrage, with thousands of protesters gathering at the scene, and Mayor Jacob Frey was pulling no punches at his press conference.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying.
The woman shot dead by an ICE agent was identified as 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good. The video of the shooting and her death has sparked furious outrage in Minnesota, but Donald Trump's administration have continued to blame the victim and claim that she was attempting to harm the agents who surrounded her car. US Vice President J.D. Vance claimed that the woman who had just dropped her son to school had been brainwashed by radical left-wing activists. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara says the deployment of ICE was a deliberate attempt to provoke a response.
This has been building over the course of several weeks. This was entirely predictable, and it is our police officers that have been consistently being placed in the middle of these situations, trying to de-escalate things.
Still to come in the Standout 7, in association with Metro, New York gets a brand new mayor, and award season gets underway.
Right after this.
Mom, I saw Dylan's dad make dinner. Like, actually cook, and it was straight fire. He said it was Blue Apron Assemble and Bake. All the ingredients showed up pre-chopped, and he just laid it out on a baking sheet, and no cap. Dinner was on the table in like 25 minutes. Apparently, it's chef designed, and it has like over 40 grams of protein. That's a lot, right? So maybe we try it. Just saying. You can be the next Dylan's dad. Blue Apron. Get $50 off your first 2 orders plus free shipping with code STIR50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
Welcome back.
The Middle East peace process seemed to be stuck in limbo this week as Donald Trump focused on his new favourite hemisphere, and despite a visit from Israeli PM Netanyahu to the White House, there's been no sign of any progress towards the next phase of the Gaza peace plan. However, now that the UK has formally recognised the state of Palestine, Monday saw an official Palestinian embassy opened in London. Hussein Zomlot, who is the Palestinian ambassador, was delighted to open the newly upgraded building in Hammersmith, hailing it as an historic moment that will give hope to those suffering in Gaza.
This embassy will not only serve as a bridge between our nations and our peoples. It will remind the world every single day that Palestine is here.
New York has a new mayor. Zohran Mamdani was sworn in on New Year's Day as a new boss of the Big Apple, and he's not hanging around. He's got a comprehensive progressive agenda aimed at improving life in New York, but as the youngest mayor of the largest city in the United States for over a century, he's got a mountain to climb. The initial response from New Yorkers has been positive, but he'll need to deliver quickly on promises like free childcare and affordable housing if he's to keep everyone happy with City Hall. But speaking at his swearing in on New Year's Day, he pledged to deliver on his promises.
The only expectation I seek to reset is that of small expectations. We will govern expansively and audaciously. We may not always succeed, but never will we be accused of lacking the courage to try.
Last Sunday night saw the beginning of 2026 award season, with the Critics' Choice Award taking place in Santa Monica, California. The awards were hosted by comedian Chelsea Handler and featured record-breaking nominations for vampire drama Sinners and a host of nominations for Paul Mescal's Hamnet, along with ping pong drama Marty Supreme. Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another looks set to dominate awards season, and it picked up Best Picture and Best Director. As usual, host Chelsea Handler was in top form.
Leo's here, thank God. Leo almost didn't make it tonight because he was trapped on a boat in St. Bart's. It was just like the Titanic, but worse because Jeff Bezos was there.
Adolescents picked up 4 awards, including Best Supporting Actor for Owen Cooper, a Best Supporting Actress award for Erin Doherty, and a Best Actor award for Stephen Graham. The show also picked up the overall Best Limited Series award, and Graham was delighted as he spoke for the cast and crew.
When I was a kid, my ma told me, you're never above anyone and you're never below anyone, so we're all equal. And I think the ethos that we carried into this piece, that paid off in this production. It was a unique experience, and I'd just like to say, if you've got any kids at home, give them a massive cuddle and tell them you love them. God bless. Namaste.
Irish star Jessie Buckley picked up the Best Actress award for her new movie Hamnet, which makes her a hot favourite for a potential Oscar later in the year. She won over hearts and minds with a hilarious acceptance speech dedicated in part to co-star Paul Mescal.
I bloody love you, man. And I know loads of other women do in this room too, but tough shit! I could drink you like water working with you every single day. You're a giant of the heart, and thank you so much for making me a little bit more human.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.
The longer you stay alive, the longer you can enjoy Boost Mobile's unlimited plan with a price that never goes up. So here are some tips. Do not parallel park on a cliff if you want to enjoy an unlimited plan with a price that never goes up. Do not mistake a wasp nest for a piñata if you want to enjoy an unlimited plan with a price that never goes up. Do not microwave a hard-boiled egg if you want to enjoy an unlimited plan with the price that never goes up. Stay alive and enjoy unlimited wireless for $25 a month forever with Boost Mobile. After 30 gigs, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Mobile Unlimited plan.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.